As entrepreneurs, we must always be focused on the concepts of cost optimization and looking for how we achieve cost efficiencies in our businesses. In layman's terms, what this means is that we're always trying to determine what are the absolute imperatives for our businesses and what are just the nice to haves. It means we're always looking at how we mine value from every naira, every dollar spent in our business. It means that we're paying attention to the cash and non-cash leakages in our system, which then have the potential to impact positively or negatively on our profitability. Let me share a story with you. So one of my coaches approached me with a bit of a concern. This person had been invited by the parents to join a long-standing family business, and given that it was going to require them to leave a very successful, upwardly mobile career, a professional one at that, they felt they need to do a due diligence on the organization before then jumping in headfirst. Now, the outcome of that was the realization that there were no operating processes in the business, there were no accounting systems, the records were not being well kept. The parents tended to just take money out of the business at will for all sorts of sporadic, and spontaneous requirements. And the auditor of the business was someone who was an auditor for over 20 years and really wasn't very tech savvy. So there was a concern around whether the numbers of the business actually made sense. Now my coachee then decided to counsel the parents to say, if I'm coming in, these are some of the steps that we need to take. First and foremost, it's going to be important to institutionalize the business a bit further. Set up, a system of operating procedures so it's clear who reports to who and why and how. They also recommended that they should bring in a professional firm to look at the books of the account with a neutral eye to try to establish what kind of system would need to be put in place and whether the audit numbers were actually valid. They also then recommended that it would be important to use some kind of an accounting software to begin to drive the business going forward. And generally speaking, that there will be some need for some kinds of controls within the business, a budgeting system, a system of delegation of authority, and very strict controls around how the business finances are being managed. Sadly, the response that came back was one of, it is this same business that you're calling disorganized that we used to train you and all your siblings. Oh, the business is doing well. We're making over 100 million a year and so on and so forth. And lastly, that the auditor had now become a long-standing and trusted friend of the family. Now, in essence, this is very representative of what we see many times. And what it was that the parents of this individual had failed to see that, yes, they had done well enough for the business to take 5 children through to their university degrees. But there were many things within the system that were creating leakages that were then stealing away from the profitability and, more importantly, the sustainability of that business. Now, I want you to imagine with me what the internal mechanisms and workings of that business really look like. You can imagine that there would have been many, many systemic leakages. Indeed, I dare say that they would have created some kind of an internal fraudulent empire for some dishonest employees to be able to thrive in. There's no way they would know the true financial position of that business because they have not created what is a sustainable, systematic, and efficient business framework for their business. This is the concept and what I'm trying to share with you today about doing well versus doing great. So it would have been very easy for you to hear this story I just shared and, relate with it. But the essence of today's session is to ask you to look inwards at your own business and ask yourself the question, am I doing well or am I doing great? Where are the potential leakages within my own system? So do you, for instance, have your accounting system still in a very manual format? There are some very easy softwares, not very expensive, that you can use to create that system that is backed by technology that gives you a more efficient accounting for your businesses. Then let me ask you, when I talk about systemic leakages, what are the things that come to mind in your own business? Are you, for instance, still insisting that documents need to be printed? That's wasting ink, wasting paper. Are you still insisting that you have to travel with your teams for meetings that you could readily hold on various online platforms that are available to us today? Or are you such a micromanager in your business that you insist on accompanying your teams perhaps when they have to go for international inspections on projects, without realizing that your involvement creates another unnecessary cost overhead that is impacting on your bottom line? So in essence, what I'm trying to say is that it's important for all of us to look inwards and ask ourselves, where can we impact positively on our businesses, not just focusing on growing your top lines, being your revenues, but looking at how more efficiently you can manage your system, manage your people and your resources to then bring down the costs of your business, the cost profile of your business, and enhance your profitability. In doing so, you also set up more of an institutional framework that makes for a longer-term sustainable business, whether you are in that company or not. I think it's very important also to mention at this point that as business people, we shouldn't get emotional around professional relationships. Even if you've had some kind of a bookkeeper of sorts, which is what this other company had, that has become endeared to you over time, but you recognize that they're not able to deliver at the level that is required for your organization, you have two options. Throw a lot of training at them to bring them up to par, or if they fail and they can't meet the specs, then you have to exit them and get the kind of skills you need to be able to manage your business properly and professionally. And I think also, if we look at this particular scenario that we shared, talking about the auditor, there are actually governance rules that make clear that you can't have the same auditor, the same chairman, and so on and so forth for extended periods of time. Sometimes it's a 10-year limit, a 7-year limit. You have to understand what works within the governance framework of your country, of your industry, and make the very unemotional decision to change that, so that familiarity doesn't put you into the place where you're actually sub-optimizing the record keeping and the systems and efficiencies within your business. As business people, we need to be looking at how we leverage on technology also to reduce the cost profiles of our business. And here's the way to look at it. Everywhere you're able to drive your costs down, you increase your profits, and it literally comes back to you as a reward in your dividends from the business. Secondly, if, like in my organization, you have a company where you have a profit sharing scheme with your employees, it's also quite easy for you to get them on the same bandwagon of looking at cost efficiencies and cost optimization when you sell them the narrative and understanding that if collectively we build an efficient cost profile for the company, they as well get to benefit in the end when the company does its annual profit shares for the benefit of the staff. So I hope this has been useful to you, and I look forward to sharing other tips with you around how to grow a more efficient, more sustainable business that is greater than that which is just doing well. Take care.